If you are really and truly ready to detach from the outcome of romantic relationships and to finally be more magnetic to the type of relationships that you do want to attract, there's only one question that you need to ask yourself. And that is this: what is it that I am getting out of romantic relationships? There is so much talk online right now about decentering men. And most of it is toxic femininity at work. And what I mean by that is there are all these posts talking about we need to decenter men, we need to stop making them the center of our lives. But then the women who are creating these posts go on to bash men, talk about how men are trash, men are horrible, and that's why we just need to be single and never be in a romantic relationship. First of all, if you are constantly talking about decentering men and saying that men are terrible, you are in the process centering men because that's all you're talking about and thinking about. Secondly, while I agree that you should decenter men and center yourself and make yourself the priority, that doesn't mean that you need to be single forever. I'm married and I believe that you should decenter men and make yourself the priority. Decentering men in a healthy way means that you put yourself first, you consider your values, your beliefs, your integrity first, and then you allow every relationship to revolve around that. So, all of your relationships with your career, your job, with your family, friends, and yes, your romantic relationships should align with your higher goals for yourself, should serve your life in some way. And anyone who doesn't add to your life, you detach from that and you're willing to let them go. So, in order to finally reach this place where your relationships serve you and not the other way around, the question that you need to ask yourself is what is it that you get out of being in a romantic relationship? Because if you are constantly facing, searching for this partner, there's something that you are trying to get out of it. That could be reassurance. That could be safety, stability. You may be a woman who was taught that in order to be safe, to be stable, to not have to worry about bills and things like that, that you had to have a man in your life, that you needed a man to provide for you. I know for me, when I was in unhealthy relationships, it was validation. I was raised in a household where achievement was praised all the time. And while there's not necessarily anything wrong with that, it meant that I was constantly trying to get straight A's and, be in all these clubs and win all of these awards to get validation. And then I find myself finishing school and transferring that same behavior into relationships, being in cycles of people pleasing and always trying to show off how impressive I was, all of that just for validation. You may be searching for a father figure. Maybe you grew up, with either an absent father or with someone who was physically present in the home, but maybe he worked all the time. Or again, I grew up, preacher's kid in church, so I definitely saw men in ministry who were constantly devoting all their time to church and not necessarily as much to their families. So now you're searching for a father figure and everyone that you date. And because you are doing this, because you are seeking outside of yourself for all of these things, you're going to constantly find yourself in cycles of being in relationships that are unfulfilling. You're going to constantly find yourself chasing and being in an energy of clinginess, of desperation, and of not truly being satisfied. So, first thing you need to do is ask yourself that question. What is it that you are seeking in these romantic relationships? And then after you answer that question, you need to start giving those things to yourself. So if you're seeking reassurance, you need to give it to yourself. If you're seeking stability and safety, you need to give that to yourself. Maybe that means moving into a safer neighborhood. Maybe it means starting to build up your savings account and your investments so that you feel more financially stable on your own. If you are seeking that father figure, that means that your relationship with your own masculine energy is not where it should be. And just like there's so much talk about women working on their feminine energy, you also need to work on your masculine energy because there is a balance of these two things. They go hand in hand. And both men and women have both masculine and feminine energy. So if one of those things is off balance, the other is also going to be off balance. So you need to work on both. Maybe you're seeking power. Now, a lot of people in particularly church circles will talk about this as being, a Jezebel spirit, wanting to rule over men and be able to seduce men. Again, if you're doing this, you're going to find yourself in the end powerless because you may for a while be able to seduce men and get what you want, but you're still depending on them as your source of power and validation. So until you learn how to give that to yourself and tap into your own personal power, you're not going to be able to approach relationships from a place of freedom. So whatever it is that you are seeking in these relationships, you need to start figuring out ways to give them to yourself. And once you do this, you'll see that one, you're going to be a happier person in general, but two, your relationships are going to be so much better because you will have filled your own cup. And then, first of all, you'll be able to love other people from the overflow of that, which means that your relationships will be in a healthier place. You won't have resentment towards the people in your life, especially not your romantic partner, because you don't feel like you're constantly draining yourself in order to make other people happy. But also, you'll no longer compromise. Once you truly learn to give the things that you need to yourself, and then you're coming to relationships from a place of you desire and you want companionship, but you don't need someone else to provide it. Once you reach that place, you don't settle. You don't overly compromise. You're not trying to be someone else in order to make other people happy. And because of that, you will attract a partner who is in alignment with the things that you want. You will also attract a partner who's willing to work and put in the effort in the relationship to keep you happy because they know that you're not someone who is going to settle and someone who's going to compromise. So there's so much power that comes from wanting a relationship, desiring a relationship, and not needing one. Again, when I see all this content about decentering men and about, men are trash and all of that, I think that the women who watch it, who produce it, who listen to it, are all doing themselves a disservice because we grow through relationships. And romantic relationships are a great way to grow your communication skills, to grow and see what it is that you need as a person, and also to grow your ability to receive. There is something that is so amazing and wonderful about being in a relationship with a man who does take care of you, who does provide for you, who wants to do those things for you, and who wants to make you happy. And it's even better when you're in that type of relationship and you know that if that were to stop, you could leave at any time because, yes, you have someone who's taking care of you and providing for you. But again, you don't need it. You're in a place where you are good, even if that were to end. So again, decentering men truly means prioritizing yourself and then learning to give yourself the things that you need first. And then after that, allowing other people to contribute and to add to your life.
This podcast is brought to you by Contessa Digital.